Howdy all, hope you're doing well. I suppose for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome, thank you for subscribing, it is much appreciated. And for those that have been leaving comments and likes, thank you very much for that as well, also very much appreciated and well noted. I'm still a bit in shock as to the last couple of videos and the amount of views I've had. I did a video 4 days ago which was "Should I Even Carry On?" and there's been about 7 comments on that one in total, which I'm probably going to go over. And also Advice for a Younger Self, that's had 92 views with 11 likes and 4 comments on that one. And it's sort of, it is funny, I suppose, like when I do a video and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about quitting the channel because I don't think this is doing me any favours psychologically, right? It's that thing, like I said in that video, if I'm talking about it all the time, then chances that's all I'm going to see. At the same time, nothing has really, regardless of me creating content, nothing has really improved out in the real world in terms of how can I put it and be polite? Or maybe I just shouldn't be polite. There's just so much thottery going on out there, right? I'm just saying. And maybe it's just the way things are going to be now, which I don't think is particularly good for society, but it is what it is. Because no one's going to stand up and call people out on it. And, well, they do, and when they do, there's the consequence of that. It's, oh yeah, you just dislike women, blah, 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 you're a dirty incel. Anyway. I did a video I think it was yesterday. It was Saturday, in fact. It's now Bank Holiday Monday over here in the UK. And anyway, I was cleaning out my closet. Right, I'm sorry, Mama, didn't mean to hurt you. I meant to make you cry, but on Saturday I was cleaning out my closet, right? And I found this here piece of paper, this has actually followed me for probably the last sort of 5 years, and I just found it randomly. And it's to do with the criteria of what I'm looking for in terms of a long-term relationship, and it's the qualities. And I've got 2 paragraphs here. I've got, well, two lists. I've got the wants and the don't wants, and I'm sure a lot of you will be able to understand this as well, right? So in the list of wants, you know, the qualities that, you know, I want from a potential partner: honest, loyal, respectful, trustworthy, good sense of humour, good natured, fun to be around, good communicator, words and actions are congruent, considerate, compassionate, caring, and the ability to apologise. And it's funny because when I read this, because this is obviously like I initially did one video, but I ran out of time and ended up deleting the whole thing. But that ability to apologise, I know exactly why I wrote it, is because I was in the tail end of a breakup, and that particular chick, like, talk about entitlement, man, like, which is, you know, she is the reason I started the channel, I suppose, like, trying to give out some, like, insight, and I suppose trying to get guys to see that they're in some situations, they're not like on their own, they're not like, and it's not trying to take away any power from them, so to speak. It's more to do with they're not alone, right? It's like, you know, this, and since creating videos back then, and I was entitling the videos narcissism, right, as opposed to recently where I've been doing RP MGTOW, right. Now that ability to apologise now, it was sort of funny, because at the time when this list was written, when it was written, you know, that particular chick, she was being horrible, she was being a twat, there's no 2 ways about it, right? And I think I did a video, and I think it might have been overheard because I wasn't exactly subtle about things. I was just like, no, I want people to know what people like you are like, right? Because they just shouldn't get involved because it's not worth the effort, right? It was that typical thing of, yes, she had the looks, but, you know, she had the personality of a piece of 4x2, and just everything had to evolve around her all the time, and if it didn't, then there was a problem. But you know, I've spoken about rose tinted glasses and not really seeing things for what they are when you're in a relationship, and then when you come out you sort of see things for what they actually are. No ability to apologise, that one. At least not to me. There were other instances where she was apologising to other people and she was making it like quite obvious, and it's sort of like, right, you're either being a dick on purpose, right, and you're not apologising for, you know, speaking to me or treating me the way she had done, but she'd apologise to other people for little nothings, right? And maybe it was a bit of a psychological thing, that, you know, a little bit of fuckery that she was playing with in order to piss me off and rile me up that little bit more. But I think what she failed to realise is who and how I am. It's like, no, once you've crossed the line, it's like, I couldn't care less if you apologise. You can stick it up your arse for all I care, because I've seen who they really are, and I have zero fucks to give about them, their life, or anything like that. It's like, no, get away from me. Anyway, the list of don't wants, and this was actually quite telling as well. And look, they're obvious. It's not just about this one particular chick. This is about just in general. Liars, cheaters, disrespectful, untrustworthy, no sense of humour, boring, narcissistic, ego-driven, and gold digger. And I think the sort of funny thing is she qualified for all the things that I didn't want. You know, she did lie. I think she cheated. I don't have any evidence. And it's not that I'm sitting here and I'm like upset about it still. It's like, no, not at all. It's just sort of looking back now, you know, untrustworthy. It's like, well, you can't trust someone that's going to lie and cheat on you and not treat you with respect anyway. No sense of humour. Now that was one of these things, like when you're with someone like that and you're trying to have a little bit of a joke and that, and they deliberately don't want to see the funny side of the joke because they're trying to put you down psychologically. You know, they're trying to make you feel bad, maybe that you're not funny, or maybe that your jokes aren't funny or something like that. And I get it, look, sometimes some people's jokes aren't for everyone as well, but, you know, this is someone that, prior to all of that, they were making out that they were on the list of wants with honest, loyal, respectful and trustworthy and so on. Needless to say, in that sort of sense, as far as I was concerned as well, with that list of things that I don't want from a potential partner, is someone that's boring. Right, and boring can be anything. Yeah, it's like just an inability or an unwillingness to have fun or share in the pastimes and hobbies that you might have. And again, it's one of them. Sometimes people just don't share the same hobbies, and that's okay. But I think when you're cutting someone off at every opportunity because they want to actually invest in a relationship and, you know, make a go of it. Yeah, well, and of course with that, narcissistic and ego driven was definitely the two things that she scored quite high on in these things, and also the potential for being a gold digger, although without it was kind of like one of them. And looking back, even to this day, I still think that the reason that she chose me as a potential partner was more to do with what she could get out of me in the long term. And obviously when all that failed, and, you know, she realised that the legal system works differently to the way she expects it to or wanted it to, yeah, then everything was my fault, of course. And it's like, no, bitch, you just didn't get your own way and your plan didn't work because you're stupid. She is quite stupid. And that's the other thing with a lot of these narcissistic people. Although they are quite clever and cunning in some instances, on the grand scheme of things, they're pretty fucking stupid. So, what I wanted to do in this one, I wanted to do a response to comments, and I'm going to go there roundabout now. This is, like I say, like the third maybe time that I've attempted doing this, and I'm doing it for the sake of interacting with you guys, because, you know, I still don't know where I'm going with the channel, if I'm honest. On the one hand, I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to start getting 200 or 300 views every few days or whatever, then maybe I do need to up my game, and then I need to take into consideration whether, because I couldn't do this as a full-time hobby, like I was saying. It's like I take my hat off to the content creators that have been able to do this consistently, and talking about, you know, the state of relationships and the relationship, more importantly, the relationships between men and women in today's society. And I get it, that comes with its own set of issues anyway, attraction being one of them. But I think with the way things are, it's just, I can't see it getting any better, man. I can't. Anyway, this is my response to David Betts. For my younger self, I'd say find someone you can talk to and open up properly to, and then trust no one else. Personally, I'd go with the end part of that. I'd just like trust no one. I can't, you know, it's like, I say that in terms of like being intimate with a potential partner or something like that. It's like, no, I've done that once with an intimate partner and once with a friend, and in both occasions they've both shafted me, right? They've both let me down as, pardon me, as either a lover or as a friend. And whatever it was I told them about was then weaponised against me later on when it suited a narrative, and it's just sort of like, well, you know, it doesn't really fill me with a great deal of confidence when it comes to opening up. And again, these sort of things, I think you're better off going into the down the path of seeking further, perhaps medical help from the medical field. But yeah, it would have saved a good 15 to 20 years of depression and wanting to self-delete every day. I mean, this is also subjective, and I don't want to go too into it because I don't know the full ins and outs of any given situation. But I think, if anything, one of the other comments that was left by, I think it was Roger, and he was saying that as a result of what he was going through, he became somewhat disassociative. As for me, I became a combination of asocial and antisocial. And I say antisocial, I don't mean going out and being horrible to people. It's just like, I'm very short fuse and not willing to I suppose, in that sense, like open up or whatever, or talk to other people. Second point, never get a credit card. Well, they kind of have their uses, so I'm not trying to take away what you say. I know exactly where you're coming from with that, because there's a lot of responsibility, and if you don't pay it back, then there's consequences and so on. Third point, never date a single mum. Bro, that should be the top of the list, right? That should be, I'm just saying, I know you probably haven't put them down in that sort of thing, but I'd say that should be at the top, because, you know, it's, they don't bring, like, if we're talking about relationships and everything, man, it's like, I guess it's novel, right? It's a noble thing if, you know, you take someone on and you're looking after them and everything, you know, you're making sure that they've got food in the belly and a roof over their head. But from the way I see it, it's like, I don't want to be feeding someone else's kid anymore. You notice I said the word anymore there. You know, I've been there several times, man. Like, you try and do the right thing by some of these chicks and it just all gets thrown back in your face. They're just not worth the fucking hassle. And if there are any single mums that watch this and you're the exception to that rule, obviously I'm not talking about you, but no, I still wouldn't date you anyway because of my experiences. And it's like, I don't care what you say. I don't care how you present yourself, how much of an attractive option you might want to make it. It ain't happening, right? I'm done with that shit. And you can go ahead and thank all these other toxic bints that go out doing the stuff that they do, right? For whatever reason, I'm not even willing to give them a pass because, oh, psychological damage and, oh, bad choices in partners. And it's like, yeah, bad choices in partners. The key word there being choices. Decisions they made, right? Whether good or bad. I'm not here to pick up the pieces of other people's mistakes. I will help people out where I can, but I'm not willing to... Me personally, I'm not going to go through that shit again, so no. You know, especially when you don't bring anything to the table other than another mouth to feed, and then the potential of baby daddy drama and all of that. It's like, I don't want that, and there's a lot of other guys that don't want that. Like I say, if you're the exception to the rule, I hope you can understand where I'm coming from. You know, it's like how when you go through that, and especially when you go through it more than once, you know. Repeat after me, guys. If you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got, right? I'm just saying. It is what it is, man. But, you know, it's not, and the thing is, it's not our responsibility. We didn't make that choice for these women. They made that choice by themselves. So it's like, you've made your bed, you can go and lie in it. That's a you problem. And how bad do I want to be in this one? You know, I don't even see why it should be a government issue, because, you know, like, I mean, in terms of payouts and housing, and it's like, well, no, they put themselves in that situation, man. This is what lack of accountability, in this case for women, has done. It's created more of a strain on the financial system of every country throughout the world, where government funding for single parenthood is a thing. Who else do you think is picking up the tab for that, right? And then they get all emotional when we say, even jokingly, oh, well, you owe me because I'm supporting you through my taxes, right? They get emotional when you say that shit, even jokingly, and it's like, yeah, but it's true though, isn't it? And what are you more pissed off about? Are you pissed off that it's true, or are you pissed off that it's been actually, someone's actually brought that one to the forefront, you know? And again, I'm not doing this from a point of like hate or disrespect, not at all, not in the slightest. Anyway, fourth point, learn about compound interest and start at an early point in life, because now you miss most of the benefits. And it's like, yeah, I never knew a great deal about compound interest, and yeah, for me it's a bit too late now anyway, so it's what it is. You know, I suppose, as they say, you live and learn. As for number of views, it's called the YouTube algorithm. Well, this is an argument point for me, because I've done videos in the past, and I've actually put in the like the search criteria, the hashtags and the taglines for people that could potentially be searching that stuff up. And I used to put, like, whether it is red pill, MGTOW, or, you know, personality disorder or whatever, relationships, romance, soulmates, or I've tried everything, and nothing seemed to make any difference. So I don't really think it's so much to do with the algorithm. Clickbait titles, well, I'm not a fan of clickbait titles. You know, again, with that last one, it's like, well, should I carry on that video? Should I carry on creating content or not? And I do wonder how many thought that. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's going to off himself. It's like, you sick fucks. I don't know if that's the case or not, but whatever. One up from that is to put a nice bright picture for the video title, pulling the soy boy face. Does this look like a face that can do a soy boy face, man? I'm just saying. Right. Right, now where are the comments? Can't find the rest of them. There we go. There we go. What? See, YouTube, I'm telling you, they're doing me dirty again. Here we go. So the next comment that was left was from AE. I have 168 IQ. You're smart as fuck, man. You're clever. If you've actually got 168 IQ, that's a lot. My mother got married 5 times, and I went to 10 different schools, and I only got 1 CSE. No easy start to life. My cousins had similar problems, various stepfathers. They moved to France and couldn't pass English exams. Yeah, it doesn't, you know what, it doesn't do much good for the individual. Like, when you're in that scenario, you go into a foreign country, you learn a different language and the way they do things, and you do that for an amount of time, a couple of years, a good few years, right? And then you have to reverse everything back to what you'd learned previously, but at the same time you've missed out on the sort of general standard education of what the other country, your, I suppose, country of origin, as it were, what they were actually studying. So it puts you at a disadvantage with the rest of them, because you know, not only do you not know it because you were being taught something else, but then yeah, it's never a good way, is it? It's never a good thing. But yeah, this is where we're at. Anyway, Roger, I'm not going to try and pronounce your surname. I apologise for that, because I'm probably going to butcher it. So I'll just play it safe. I'll go with Roger. How's that? Do a lot of research on your personality, including personality tests. I actually come. I'm a close match between INTJ and INFJ on the Myers-Briggs Personality Type Indicator, or MBTI as they call it. Look for jobs that match up with your personality and interests. I mean, again, the jobs that I've done, I've had quite a few jobs, obviously, as I've stated, over the years. And a lot of the time it comes down to the team of individuals that I'm working with and what they're like. And I can work well alone, not a problem. Sometimes I think maybe it's a bit better me working on like doing my own thing and just being away from people, because where there's people you start talking about what they are like, their characteristics, and sometimes me and other people can clash, and in some cases we can clash quite badly, and you know, to the point where, you know, it just won't end well in some cases, right? It's just like, because you could say I'm stubborn in some instances, but it's like, I don't mind having a joke and a laugh. At the same time, I don't want to put up with stupidity either. And unfortunately, in a few of the jobs that I've had, I've seen a lot of stupidity and not a lot of work getting done. And of course, as I'm sure a lot of you might know this scenario, you end up doing the work yourself, and then you end up getting the ump, and then everyone wants to know why you've got the ump, because you're doing all the work while this other fucking clown is just pissing about on his phone or her phone or whatever. They're doing anything else except the one thing they're being paid to fucking do. And then when you call them out, they're like, oh yeah, they'll agree with you, but they won't do anything about it. And if anything, they'll like double down, like make it out like it's your fault somehow, and it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So yeah, this is why I don't like people much. You know, I'm just saying. I don't talk to my family anymore because I called my father from college and was told I could major in his career or drop out. It was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. If I had to do it over again, I would have ended the relationship at 18. If someone doesn't have your best interest in mind, get away from that person. No, absolutely. You know, there's no point investing in people that don't share the same goals as you. There's just not, man. It's just a waste of time, and then you come away feeling what a wasted effort, and you know, the time you'll never get back. The money you can earn back, but the time you don't, man. And then the last comment, I think it might have been, yeah, it was a comment you'd actually left that before that. I just want to say, man, I can feel your trauma. I can see and feel your pain. Right, I'm not in any pain. It's just the way I do the videos. Because I'm concentrating and I've got so much going through my head at the same time. It's like I'm trying to slow my thought process down, because I can't talk as fast as I think the stuff that is going on in my head. So it probably makes me look like I'm in pain, and like I'm not suffering any like pain or past traumas or anything like that. It's just I mean, like I said, I can talk about it quite easily, so it's not a problem. I'm not in pain. It's the disappointment of what the modern woman has become, and modern dating, and the expectations, the unrealistic expectations that a lot of these women have. You know, that hurts me more than actually what I've been through. But then I suppose it's like anything. You know, you cry yourself a little river, you build yourself a bridge, and then you get the fuck over it by yourself, sort of thing. But anyway, you actually remind me of Tom Hardy in that Bronson movie. I haven't actually seen Bronson. I've seen Tom Hardy, but from reading that comment initially, I actually did a quick YouTube search for Tom Hardy Bronson interview, and I watched that ever so quickly. But I did, yeah, I did find that funny actually. I don't know how to take it. I've been in men's groups, other groups, and 6 years of one-on-one therapy. They helped. What helped more than that was I stopped caring what other people think. Well, this is it. Don't be a slave to what other people think of you. Like, you know, don't do that. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying generally speaking. A big change for me was becoming spiritual. I studied Buddhism. That's quite good. Christianity and Hinduism. I have ADHD. Only now at 41 have I really started to acknowledge this is going to be a part of my life. But the thing is, man, it's like you don't really have to acknowledge it because you've lived with it for 41 years. This isn't something that's just come about recently. You've had it all your life. So it's like, for the most part, I'd say it's more about learning more about yourself and your patterns and your habits, and how knowing how you react to certain situations or scenarios with having ADHD. So I don't necessarily think, it's... What I'm trying to say is, don't let, just because you've been diagnosed with it now, I mean, realistically, alright, so they've put a label on that for you. What's really going to change? Nothing. You're still going to be the same self that you've always been. Maybe now you'll be able to look into that and just deal with it, find different ways of dealing with it better for you, maybe. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work, and don't kick yourself if they don't, because if nothing else has worked in the 41 years, I mean, it's always good to try new avenues, but, don't put yourself down or think any less of yourself because you've got ADHD. That's basically what I'm saying. What you talk about with school, I get it, man. My trauma resulted in disassociation and inattentive ADHD. It was the mind trying to protect me from things happening as a child. And again, this is, I mean, sometimes I don't know a great deal. I know it's like attention deficit, hyperactive disorder in some cases. But I don't necessarily think that, and I'm not a professional, so I'm open to correction. I just want to point that one out from now, so you know. Right, just covering myself here, because I'm not a professional, right? I'd say, if anything, there's the potential for maybe like narcissism. I'm not saying this is what you've got, but what I'm saying is narcissism tends to be like the ego protecting the self, which is why a lot of people with NPD walk around thinking that their shit don't stink and they can't do nothing wrong, and everyone else is inferior. And there's a level of irony with me saying that, because having just gone to the shops and come back, and I consider myself quite I'm a very competent driver, right? So when I've got someone in front of me that's doing less than the speed limit, and it's not that I will put myself or others at risk, but make no mistake about it, I will be cussing in my own vehicle. I'll be cussing them down, being like, "Why can't you just do 30? Are you stupid?" Which, look, I'm going to say it for what it is. That can be pointed out as being quite narcissistic. But the point is, this is the ego, right? In that sense, that is my ego, knowing full well that I can drive better than the person in front. I mean, you could argue all sorts. They might have had something wrong with their car, or they might not be that confident a driver. There might be a new driver that didn't have the new plates to tell other people that they're a new driver, and all this, right? At the same, and this is kind of like why I have a bit of a disagreement with some psychologists when they say that like people that like fast cars, and it's because I'm trying to veer myself away from being labelled as like the potential for psychopathy or something like that. And it's like, no, because it's just, I suppose it's an addiction to speed, if anything. I just like going fast where I'm allowed to. Like, if I got to go to the track because that's the best place to do things like that, then that's what I'll do. But when I'm out on the open road and someone's going slower than me, believe me when I say I'm looking for that opportunity, and if I don't get it, I will be cussing them from wherever I'm at to wherever I'm going. If they don't pull off and go somewhere else, right, I will be cussing them behind my steering wheel. And it's great because they can't hear a thing, right? So it doesn't matter. I've usually got the music up too loud, so. But the point being is that is a difference between sort of like narcissism and like the ego. Like, in that sense, my ego does jump out of itself a little, and with most people it does, right? That's why road rage is a thing, because people's ego gets the better of them, and then they get out of the car, then the other person gets out of the car, and then sometimes it turns out that the other person is actually crazier than the person that got out in the first place. and then that's when shit goes down and shit happens, and then accident, well, I say accidents, they're not actually accidents because both parties got out of their vehicles. So at the same time, the ironic side of me saying that is, I think sometimes people do need a smack in the mouth as well. I know it's not the thing really to say, but it's true. But I wouldn't say that ADHD is in my opinion, it's not linked to I don't think it's linked to a self-defense mechanism. I think it's just, again, perhaps like myself, so much going on in the mind, whereas you sit there and you start sort of clucking a little bit. It's like, well, what am I going to do now? You start fidgeting. What's that? What's that? You know what I mean? But again, it's not. I'm not looking at it from a negative. It just is what it is. But I'm not sure that, at least I'm not convinced that is to do with that. And I'm not implying that you're narcissistic either, by the way. I was using that as an example. It was a mind trying to protect me from the things happening as a child. I'm sorry you experienced such painful things. Mate, that was fucking... Thing is, a lot of the stuff that I talk about now happened ages ago, and I'm well and truly over it. Now I'm just trying to, I suppose, do my part for the manosphere and trying to reassure guys that, look, this shit, although it shouldn't be normal, it kind of is. Right? It shouldn't be a normalised thing, but when you've got a society that, normalises lack of accountability for the opposite gender, right, for women, just saying it for what it is, then it's gonna instantly, because more is expected from men and less responsibility and accountability from women. Well, what is that going to do? You got an imbalance there, and they say that feminism is about equality, and it's like, well, if you want equality, start holding women to the same account that they hold men, and then you'll get there. You just won't like the outcome, right? I'm just saying. You start giving women the same sentences as men for the same crime, then, but she's a woman, so she still did the same fucking thing. It's like, but this is it. Anyway, I found God in the last few months, but not the one specified in a specific religion, just one of pure love. And fair play, bro. I mean, if it works, brilliant. That's the thing, That's just it. You got to find something that works for you as a person. It doesn't matter if it's a faith or a religion or a belief. It could be working on cars, working on motorbikes. I mean, that's generally what I do. Doesn't always work. Gaming, that's the other one. That's a great escape from reality. But at the same time, I'd say don't, pardon me, don't let your escapism become the be all and end all, to the point where you're ignoring the actual reality. Because then a lot of stuff goes on that you miss out on, and then you come back and you're not as up to date and things have changed, and then you're left like, it's like being in the middle of the ocean without a lifesaver sort of thing. So anyway, that'll do for this one. Half an hour long. Sorry guys, it's nice. I know you like them, but not everyone does. Thanks all for your ongoing support, is much appreciated. I hope this has helped in some way, shape or form, and I will be doing another couple of videos responding to more comments, and we will take things from there. So until the next one, stay cool.